Hey, it's March Madness season, the great, wonderful pageantry of the college basketball tournament. Always an exciting time, and I thought we could make a Photoshop tutorial showing a way to make a banner or a graphic showing some spirit for your favorite team. So let's go ahead and begin here. Um, I am from Wyoming originally, so I thought I would give kind of a tribute to the Wyoming Cowboys. So I'm going to use colors that are kind of similar to their scheme. For this project, if you have a school that you are more closely affiliated to, you can just go to Google official colors for whatever that school name is, and this team color codes always is one of the first few links that's going to show up, and you can get those hex values right there. Pretty sweet. So then you would just copy that, and then when we get to our background or to our first layer here that I'm creating, and I'm going to shift backspace to fill and go to color, and then you can just paste that link in there. I am not using the actual official colors for the Wyoming Cowboys here because we're going to do some overlays and things that wash out the colors a little bit, so I thought it would be a little bit pointless to go exact, but you may want to. It's your design, so you can choose. I'm going to type this in, okay, and go with this background color. Lovely brown and gold of the Wyoming Cowboys. I found some images for free. These are all on Unsplash and Pixabay. And so we'll kind of look at these first. I think we'll bring in this picture of the basketball player. I'm just going to click and drag that down. I've already downloaded them. This one came from Pixabay. They have some basketball player silhouettes in there that I thought were pretty cool. With this one here, I am going to go to the layer style of this basketball player. Just double clicking there and go to color overlay, and I have some of these settings from my last project I was working on need to change, so let's go to normal here and crank the opacity up to 100. Alright, then I can click on this color rectangle preview here, and I'm going to go with the second color of the team here. So we're going to stick with kind of a two color scheme for this. So I'm going to go with FFA 200. That's pretty Wyoming brown and gold, I think. That's pretty darn close. Alright, so I'm going to click OK here. I'm going to click OK here for right now. And there will be something I'll change later, but I'll worry about that at a little bit of another time. Okay, the other shape I want to bring in, this basketball shape. I like this. This basketball picture also came from Pixabay, a free image, so pretty awesome. Alright, and with this picture here, I am gonna, you could do this a few different ways, but I'm gonna rasterize it. I'm gonna right click on this image in my layer style, rasterize the layer, and just using my eyedropper tool and clicking in the basketball player so I don't have to retype in those values every time, and then using my paint bucket tool, I can select or just fill in this color here with that. And once I get that done, then I can use my magic wand tool and select in the lines of that basketball and press delete to get rid of it, and then control D to deselect. And so there is that. I'm going to try to position this basketball player here. Maybe to do this, I'm going to lower the opacity of the ball so I can see a little bit easier. That'll be helpful. And then to move the basketball player with the side of this, and I think, I don't know how exactly for sure I want this to look, but if I go like, maybe I move the basketball player like right here, and then Control T, and depending on the silhouette you get from that side, it's kind of up to you on how you want to do this, but kind of already having an idea of what I want to do, I kind of have that advantage here right now. So if I maybe put the top of that player's head right there, and then the foot comes down right here at the bottom of the ball, I think that is going to work fine. I'm going to move this over the top of that layer, so that way the basketball player is on the top layer, the basketball is underneath. And if I go to the layer style once again of this silhouette, then I want to this time click on stroke and put this outline, and I'll select the color here, and I'm going to select the same brown color and click OK, and then adjusting the width, and it's not going to be exact but just as close as we can. I want to kind of have it matched to where it's close to the same width as the lines on that basketball. So in this case, yeah, I may have to adjust it later when I resize this again, but as of right now, 13 looks pretty close, and I think we can make that work. So with that, I'm going to click OK. And then the next thing that I want to do here is with the design on this, I wonder if actually, if I do go back in here to the layer style again and I go to the stroke here, what if I go to center? How does that, I don't like how that looks at all, so I will leave that at, the inside's going to look weird, so yeah, I am going to leave that at outside. I think that's going to be just fine for that. Alright, so clicking OK, and the next thing is just kind of selecting this basketball layer and using my Polygon Lasso tool would probably be just as easy as anything else, and I'm gonna kind of just draw this line through where the player is overlapping the ball and fits inside. Alright, and then once I close that up over here, then I can press delete and get rid of that part. So we kind of have this as one shape, and then I'm going to bring that opacity of the ball back up right here just like that to 100 so that it's all the same color. Once I'm done with that, I'll control click and move this basketball player out over to here, and this is something I can play around with later. I'm gonna kind of have it be semi close to the edge of this banner. Maybe Control T and resize just a little bit, and I think that can probably work fine for right now. So once I have that done, next step, I'm going to type some text here. So I'm just going to use the horizontal type tool. You can use really kind of any font that you would like for this, but I found this one online called High School USA. There's a serif version and a sans serif, and I'm going to use the sans serif for it. And just to kind of start off with, I'm going to type in, each of these will be on their own line, so I'm just going to go March Madness Road to the Final Four. And I think that'll look pretty good. Next thing I'll do is just kind of Control T so I can resize this a little bit. And you know, I want this to, it's going to overlap right now with this a little, but if I have, oh, I don't know, let me try just bringing this to be the size of the actual canvas here, and it might kind of work out. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go just kind of right to the edge here, and I think that'll be fine for that. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of slide this over. Now, yeah, probably like that, I think. Well, no, actually, I'm going to slide it over to where 4 is going to be right about here. And then just kind of using my arrow and cursor, I'm going to kind of form these around the outside. Not real professional. I want this is going to be kind of a grunge type of style done. I like making designs that way. I want something that's a little bit retro looking, a little, I don't know, kind of retro, I guess. But I think that actually looks pretty good. If I move this over a little bit, I think that's good. Curves around the ball nicely. I do kind of like that. Then I'm going to use my type tool again. I'm going to go with the old area code for Laramie. And on this one, you can search like fonts online for or typefaces that are school specific. I found this NCAA Wyoming Cowboy Regular that I'm going to use for this one. I like this style. This is what they use with a lot of their branding, or it's similar to it anyway. And for this, I am going to just kind of rotate this sideways and kind of overlap it with the sides. Let's increase the size of this a little bit too, so that it is just barely touching the edges. And I'm okay with not all of this number showing, if that is the case. Will work good like that. Alright, so we got this design here. This looks pretty cool. I could put the year in there. That's not a bad idea either. I may play around with that later. The next thing I want to do is put on a couple of these kind of overlay layers that I wanted to try out. So one of them is going to be, let me go in here to this selection again, this grunge. This one came from Pixabay also. This one came from Pixabay. So I'm going to click and drag this one over, and just going to resize this, kind of angle it over, and it's kind of all up to you how you want this to be arranged. Don't resize it to where it fits in there perfectly. We want it to be scaled, you know, so I think that is important to keep in mind. And then if I kind of move this around to where at least I have some of these two corners darkened right there, I think that will look good. And this other side, I think Looks good right there. Now obviously it's covering the whole design, so in this case I'm going to go down here to my blending styles in the layers panel for this layer, and some of them just kind of depends on how you want it to look with the color scheme that you have. I don't mind this linear burn here. I do kind of like this divide right here. I'm going to try this, and I could always change it later if needed. So I'm gonna roll with that for right now. I do think that looks kind of cool. And then I have this other layer idea with this just kind of old paper style. I'm gonna click and drag that here. And this one, same thing. I'm not gonna make it fit perfectly in there. I'm gonna resize it like this and maybe kind of arrange it so that this crease right here is a little more centered. I think that looks good right there. And again, this is just something you'll kind of play around with, and you'll tinker with it to get it to fit your style that you want. This one here, I think I'm going to go here with the let's see what we have. This isn't bad, but then I'm not seeing the yellow or the gold as much, so I'm probably not going to use that. I do like how well I can see those folds in the paper though. I like that quite a lot. So this one here, this is darker color. That I think does look pretty good. The downfall for this is now I don't see the, I like how it washes out, that it almost looks like it's kind of screen printed or something, and that it's wearing off in that area. I think that's cool. But I don't really like how it's hiding those creases in that paper, and I did want to have that there. So what if I go and I duplicate this layer and see if there's a way where I could get that on there. So I'm going to select duplicate layer and OK. And then this top one here, let's see what we have. Is there anything in here? Look in here. Oh. Choices. Okay, so if I select soft light, now I'm kind of back to where I can see this line, but the washout effect isn't there quite the same. It's too light. So with that, with the soft light layer style, then I'm gonna just kind of play around with this opacity a little bit to where I can kind of see that in there a little bit. And kind of get it right in the sweet spot. This 76 isn't bad. If I move this underneath, does that change anything? I can still see the line there if I move it underneath it. I think that still looks good. I have more of the wearing out of the letters. If I move this back to the top again, I'm going to go with a little bit more gold with the version that has a little bit more gold there. And again, that's something you would just kind of play around with those preferences. And you can always make adjustments to those layers later. So this grunge here, I might just kind of move this a little bit further so the edge of that paper doesn't look so awkward. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so here's this design. I think this is kind of cool. Just a last touch that I kind of like to do when working with this style. If I select everything that is not like an overlay or a background layer, so just the text and these shapes, and I can shift select those, or I can individually select all those layers with the control button on there. And in this case, I'm going to go Control T, and I don't know what happens if I then just kind of rotate this around just a little bit, just to give it a little bit of a sense of some disarray. Nothing too obvious, but just enough to where it kind of looks like it has a little bit of a misprint to it on there. And boy, I could even maybe make that a little bit bigger too. Let's see what happens there. Stretch it out from there a little bit. And yeah, I think that's kind of cool. I like it. Alright, so there we have it. And again, you can play around with these layers, get it to how you want it to look. Again, that's right there something I'm having a hard time kind of deciding what the order of those layers that I like, but I think it would be a fun way, you know, to kind of make just a little graphic that you could use for your background image, like on Facebook or something like that, to show a little pride for your school and or where you're from, you know, and all that kind of thing, and see what you can come up with. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully it gives you something to play around with. I'd love for you to sound off in the comments and share what you've created with this to let the rest of the community kind of see your take on it and with your school and different shapes and fonts and silhouettes of players and all that. And it'd be cool to kind of see with that. So thanks for watching. Good luck to your team during March Madness, and we'll catch you on the next tutorial.